Hey guys, this morning I just want to continue something I did last week. Uh, I can't remember exactly what all I said in that video, but 145 progressions. Say I want to build a song, like a track that I'm recording or whatever, or say this is what I'm actually doing. I'm practicing to play bass for a church band, which is fine, but I'm a guitarist and I don't own a bass. They do, and I'm just gonna use theirs. But so say I want to learn a bass line, and this is just a hypothetical. I'm probably not gonna come across this, but just for the sake of learning, let's start with a simple 1-4-5 progression, but this is going to be in a minor key. But I want to show you the way that I just did it. Let's start with just the bass notes. That's my open E string right there, my 6th string, but it's open. So I'm just coming up with a simple bass line. I'm gonna use my E note, which is my open 6th string. I'm gonna use my G note, which is my 3rd fret on the 6th string, and I'm gonna use my A note, which is the 5th fret. And I'm gonna do the bass line, then I'm gonna do the chords, the open chord shapes, up here on the first 4 frets. So let's say I just want to do a simple beat with what they call heartbeat. This is for bass players, and all I'm doing that's like a very basic bass rhythm. And then I'm gonna open, then I'm gonna, that's my 5, 4, 1 in the minor key, one, 4, 5, 4, 1, minor 1, whatever you want to call it. And the reason I'm saying minor and I'm not playing chords, am I? I'm just playing notes. But I've got to know what kind of key I'm playing in, because the other instrumentalists are playing those chords, and I could play those chords if even on a bass I could play the triad shapes of those chords. So the song might be going something like this. Would be playing an E minor chord. That's my 4, my G chord. 1, minor chord, G. 1, 4 chord. And so what I'm trying to demonstrate is what I'm thinking in my head. I'm seeing the key that I'm playing in my head, even more than the song. Like I'm hearing the music, and I'm assembling the information in my head, and I'm saying, okay, wait, we're in a minor key because E minor is the root, right? Like, what if I was just thrown on stage and they started playing this song and I've got a bass in my hand and I'm like, oh man, what the heck is going on right now? As a bass player, I'm listening to that drum beat more than anything, but I've got to know what key they're playing in. It's as simple as that, and hope to God the progression is easy, like the one I'm showing you, you know. But luckily, hopefully, most bands don't just throw people in. We rehearse and we figure out how to make the song sound good, hopefully. But sometimes, especially, I know I'm not really a bass player, but I have bass player friends, and they just get thrown in the mix so many times, and if they don't know what they're doing, man, they're gonna sink right to the bottom. It looks easy, but playing music, especially in a spontaneous moment, or not really spontaneous, but you're up on stage, the band hasn't rehearsed, nobody showed you what you're supposed to be doing. They're just like, oh, here's a I've done it. I've done it to people, but I'm a lot more gracious. I took a guy one time that had absolutely no music knowledge at all. I said, hey man, you're gonna be my bass player, and I spent like maybe 20 minutes showing him what I wanted him to do, and he got it. And the next Sunday, he played bass for me, and still, I think he's learned a little bit, but he just was there and wanted to play. I don't think he's really dedicated to learning any musical instrument, but he was there and he was willing. So I was like, if you want to play the bass, I'll show you real quick. And luckily, most church songs are not hard, but you still have to have some kind of understanding of what's going on. And with bass, thankfully, you know, it only requires but if you want to learn the chords, you have to understand keys. Well, maybe you don't have to. I don't know. I do, and I want to. So this is kind of like, let's take a major key, C major. I know that's my 1 chord, and it's major, right? So that's my 1 chord shape, and I want to go through the whole key. So what's my 2? Well, I know, because I've studied, that the 2 chord of a major key is always minor. What's the note that comes after C? What's the letter that comes after C? D. So I know the 2 chord in the major key is going to be D minor. I know how to play that. That's a D minor right there. This is a D major. Actually, this is a D major. That's a D minor. You got your basic D major shape, which is not in the key of C. D minor is in the key of C. So all you do, if you play in a D, to play a D minor, you move this finger from the first string up to the third string, which is the G string, and you put your first finger here on the first fret of the first string. So you're replacing this note, which is, if this is E, that's F sharp. So what I'm trying to illustrate is I'm thinking about all this stuff while I'm practicing. This is practice. I'm thinking about all this stuff while I'm practicing so that when I get up on stage, I know what I'm doing. And I'm just taking a moment here to show whoever may not know how to play a D minor. That's how you play D minor. So we've got our 1 chord in the key of C is C. There are no sharps and flats in the key of C. It's the natural key. So we're just going to play a C major chord for the 1. We're going to play a D minor chord for the 2. And what comes after D in the alphabet, in the key? E. Is it major or minor? That's what I'm asking myself. Is the 3 chord major or minor in the major key? It's going to be minor. So I'm going to play a E minor for my 3rd chord in the major key. That's a minor chord though. The 2 and the 3 are minor chords. The 1 is major. The 2 is minor. That's D minor. The 3 is minor. That's E minor, because we're in the key of C. Because we're in the key of C, the 3 chord is gonna be E minor. C, D, E. Major, minor, minor. That's what I'm thinking. And look it up on Google or whatever and look at a picture of the major key in notation, or just like I have this book here. Get a book and look at the major scale pattern. It shows you in tab and notation how to play the actual notes in the key. I don't think this book really gets into playing the whole chords in the key, but that's what I'm trying to do that for me. And most of this stuff you just have to assemble in your mind, but it is very helpful to look at books and pages on the internet, YouTube tutorials, and all that stuff, so they show you what imagery to put in your mind, right? But really doing it is the only thing that's really helps me. Is I have to do it. I have to drive that muscle memory into my muscle memory. I have to make my brain and my hands remember what I'm doing. I have to repeat the actions. I have to repeat the thoughts. So that's what I'm really trying to illustrate. So I'm personally going through the major key. I want to know all my chord shapes in that major key. I want to know all my notes. And I'm limited right now. I need to start pushing myself past a certain level and start learning all the triad shapes, the positions where they are on the guitar. And at least now I know what I need to work on. A few months ago, I didn't even know that stuff until I started, until I joined this group and started talking to Han and Mike Peichel and Space Rider and different people, and watching different YouTube videos and stuff, and really learning. Oh man, this is what I need to be working on, not just noodling around, not knowing what I'm doing. I need to learn the cage shapes. I need to learn my triad positions. I need to learn my scale positions. I really haven't worked on that enough because all I do is anyways. I know I'm rambling, but I'm just trying to get you guys, the newer guys, the beginner guys, and girls. When I say guys, I mean everybody. To think about what a person who's a little bit more advanced than you. I'm no expert, but that once we're in that transition phase from beginner to intermediate, or intermediate to advanced, whatever you want to call it, we're always in transition. We're always jumping up a level, hopefully every day. But because I'm taking on a new role as a musician, I want to make sure I know my theory. So I'm learning my key of C, my major key. Well, I'm learning my major keys and my minor keys. That there's a major key pattern and there's a minor key pattern, and but and really theoretically it's all the same pattern. It just it goes from the major to the sixth chord or the sixth note and starts there. That's where the minor key actually starts. If you keep going up the scale with the notes or the chords, you can really think of that six as a relative beginning of the minor key. It's not necessarily going to sound well, as long as you're playing in that key with that root one, you can kind of switch between, as far as chords, you can kind of switch between and really with notes too, because all the notes are in that key. If it's the key of C, you've got the key of E minor within, A minor, my bad. If you're in the key of C, you've got the key of A minor inside that major key. That's what I'm trying to say, and I know that sounds confusing, but you've got all those same, they're all the same chords, they're all the same notes. It gets even deeper once you start thinking about the notes within the chords and how they relate to each other. But that's what I'm saying. The key relates to itself, and that's why they call the 6 the relative minor and the 1 the relative major. Anyways, so let's finish this up and show you that this is your 1 chord in the key of C. That's a major chord. This is your 2 chord. It's a minor chord. This is your 3 chord. It's a minor chord. Your 4 chord is going to be F, which you can play like this. And I have tried to show some of you an easier way to play it is actually just forgetting about what's up here. Forgetting about these strings up here and just play the high 3 strings, the three high strings, the 3 high strings. That's F. See, I'm just playing this note and this note on the 2nd string and this note on the 3rd string, and each one of them, this is the 1st fret, this is the 2nd fret, this is the 3rd fret. So that's really what's called an F triad. And I'm not going to be able to tell you right now which strings are which notes. Well, maybe I will. This is obviously an F, right? This is my root note right here. That's my root note of the chord F major, not the root note of the key. This is F. And we just said that F major is the 4 chord of the key of C, right? So this is still our 4 note in the key of C, but it has become the root note of the chord that we're playing, the 1 note of that chord that we're playing. And in order to play a chord, you have to play the root of that chord. You have to play the 3rd. Well, this is normally what I think of as a root, and this would be my 2nd. This would be my 3rd. I'm not trying to flip you off. This is my 3rd. And this, of course, would be my 4, and this is my 5. That's my triad. They all tie together. That's why I make this shape with my hand when I illustrate what a triad is. I've got my root, my 3, and my 5. So with a chord, I'm gonna play whatever the 1st note in that chord is gonna be as my root, and I'm gonna play the 3rd, which I think is this A sharp or B flat. And remember what I told you, there's no sharps or flats in the key of C? Remember that? But there is in the key of F. This is a G. This is a A. So I'm actually playing a sharp and a flat with my F chord in the key of C. So it does get confusing. But for now, all you need to know is to play this shape. But you need to know that there are, the deeper you go, the more questions. Wait a minute, man, I thought there were no sharps or flats in the key of C. There's not. If you just focusing on the 7 major notes, the 7 major chords, and we haven't got past the 4th one yet. So, one chord in the key of C is C major. That's my 5 chord. My 2 chord is D minor. My 3 chord is E minor. My 4 chord is F. My 5 chord is G. That should be an easy one for everybody. We should all know the G chord. You can play it open like that. You can play it bar shaped like this. You can play it lots of different ways, actually. But let's C, D minor, E minor, F, or F, and G. What comes after the 5 chord is the 6 chord, which I said earlier is the relative minor of the key. So it's obviously minor, right? And what letter comes after G in music? The first letter of the alphabet, A. This would be a G, this would be an A. Note to play my A minor chord open. My root note is going to be my 5th string open. That's an A note. And my next note is going to be on the D string, 2nd fret, so that's an E. But I'm playing A as my root of that chord. E is going to be the 5th, right? A, B, C, D, E, right? And this is my G string here, but I'm gonna put my ring finger down on the 2nd fret, so that goes from G to A, right? So that's another root. That's another one note of that chord, root of that chord. I think in classic music theory they call that a tonic. I never really learned all those terms. I just always called it a root. But I want to learn all that stuff. And so this is what makes the A minor a minor, or any minor chord. The minor is you're actually flattening the 3rd note in that chord, which is in the key that you're playing, but you're taking that specific chord and starting with the root, which in this case is A. That's my root. B would be my 2, C would be my 3, D would be my 4, E would be my 5. So I've got my root, which is A, my 3, which, what did I just say? C. And I'll get to that. There's the 5 is E, right? So A, C, E. A, C, E. Well, the triad for A major is A, C sharp, E. So to make it minor, I'm taking that C, and if you could see it on the keyboard, it would make a little bit more sense, because you've got the C sharp as that black key, and you're just taking it down a half step to that white key right next to that black key. That's where your C is, right there. I have one. I'd have to take my whole tripod down to show you, but on guitar you can see it too. You've got your anywhere really doesn't matter. You've got a C here, so you've got a C sharp here. So that's why when you're playing Wait, never mind. uh, yeah, that's different. Okay, let's stick with what we got here. This is our C note here, and this would be our C sharp note here. So if I'm playing my A major, I'm playing that C sharp, see? And if I'm playing my A minor, I moved this note from here down to here, like this. This is a long lesson, but it's free, so I hope you watch it. Let's go back to our 1 chord is C, our 2 chord is D minor, our 3 chord is E minor, our 4 chord is going to be F major, which you can play like this or you can cheat, which is not really cheating, like that, which is it's a C shape, right? But you're just playing these top 3 strings. You're not skipping like you would with a C. You know, you're not skipping a string between this finger and this finger. You're playing the next note up, the next string up, and you're playing like that. So learn your bar shapes. Learn your bar shapes, because it's going to develop your muscles in your hand. So that's F, and that's G, and then we've got our relative 6 chord, which in this case is A minor. And then what comes after that? Most beginners don't learn the 7 chord, and that's really one of the main things I wanted to show in this video, because I'm just now learning that stuff, because it just gets passed over and passed over. Oh, nobody ever plays that, nobody ever needs to know that. Well, if you're a guitar player, don't you want to know all your chord shapes? I just learned the diminished B shape is like this. You start with your first finger, and then you're gonna play this string here, actually with this. When you're learning beginner guitar, you should think of my first finger has its own fret, my second finger has its own fret, my third finger has its own fret, my fourth finger has its own fret. So if you've got that concept in your head, I understand, okay, my first finger is going to be on the first fret, my third finger is going to be on the third fret, and my fourth finger, is this right? Yeah, that's my B diminished, and the root is actually up here on the 4th string, and it's basically a triad, just like I showed you with the F shape, or the F chord, C shape. This is a diminished chord, a 7, the 7th chord in a key, a major key or a minor key. Well, no, major key, the 7th chord would be diminished. Minor key, it would be something else that I haven't quite got to yet in my theory training. Han or Michael or somebody more advanced than me could easily tell you. But that's how you play it. And it's actually not as hard as I thought it would be, at least for me. You do have to stretch. My thumb is kind of back here behind this fret. That's 1, 2, 3. So my thumb is right in between the 2nd and 3rd fret space on the guitar, right back here. And I'm able to stretch my fingers all the way to the metal frets, because that's where I want to get my fingers so they ring out those notes, right? And then this, you couldn't see I was playing that first string, second string, third string, and that's my root of that B diminished chord. Actually, that's what it said on the internet, but that's not right. Because what note is that? That's a D. That's not the root. It's a note in that chord, but that's not the root. The root would be no. The root would be this, where your pinky is. The root would be where your pinky is. Because that's G string, right? And this is A right here. So, well, this is A right here, and that's B. So that's your root of that B diminished chord. And I don't mind showing you how stupid I am, because that's how we all learn. This fourth string is actually a D, which would be B. C would be my 2. D would be my 3, right? So the D note is the 3 of the B chord. Any B chord is, the root is going to be B because it's a B chord. The 3 is going to be D because D is 2 whole steps away from B, or 1.5 semitones, depending on whether it's a major or minor chord. In this case, it's 2 whole steps from the root, B to D. D and my 4, which doesn't matter for a triad, but just to get there in my mind, what comes after D is E. What comes after E is F. Now, whether it's an F sharp or not depends on what kind of chord it is. B, D, E. So I know that when I'm playing this string, the 4 string, I'm playing my 3, my 3rd in that chord. And when I'm playing this 3rd string with my pinky, I'm playing the root. And when I'm playing this 3rd fret 2nd string, what note am I playing? Let's figure it out. I know that's a B. I know that's a C. I know that's a D. So I'm playing another 3 with this note here. And this note here, my 1st string, 1st fret, I know open it's E, and when I hold that down, it's an F, because there's no sharpened flat between E and F, just like there's no sharpened flat between B and C. And again, for that particular piece of information, if you look at a keyboard, you see that there's no black key between where the B note and the C note is, There's no black key between the E note and the F note. And that's why on guitar we have to learn that there's only one, well, it's not between, there's E, then there's F. There's no half step. Well, it is a half step is what I mean. There's E, and then you go 1/2 step to F. Not a whole step. This is a whole step. See how I'm skipping from F to G? That's a whole step. E to F is a half step. Or if you want to do it down here, there's E and there's F. That's in a different position on the guitar for scales and chords. This is our first position up here. So that's why I have to learn E is open, F is on the first fret, my bad. It's a half step apart from each other. But the half step idea comes from music theory, and it comes from the keyboard, really. And it's also called a tone or semitone. A half step and a semitone is the same thing. You're just going up a tone, or a semitone. You're just going up a half step in the scale of music that you're playing, in the key that you're playing in. You're going up the scale a half step, a semitone. And that's why you got to learn these theoretical terms, so you know how to explain what you're doing, and you know how to learn what you're doing. Alright, this is gonna be a freaking beast of a lesson. I'm gonna have to cut it down into sections or something. We're playing the key of C. That's our root. D major is our 2, D minor. C is our root, D minor is our 2, E minor is our 3, F is our 4, G is our 5, A minor is our 6, and B diminished. I never played this chord in my life till today, but that's B diminished. And when you're a piano player, you will play diminished chords like crazy. And if you're a decent guitar player, you need to know your diminished chords. You need to know your diminished shapes, and you need to know the theory behind all those different kinds of chords. You got your 1 chord in the key of C. I know that G is my 5 chord. I know that F is my 4 chord. So if I'm playing a basic blues progression, or whatever you want to call it, my 1 is going to be my C, my 5 is going to be my G, my 4 is going to be my F chord. So if I'm playing along with a band or whatever, and they're playing that 1-4-5 progression, but they're doing all the notes on the keys and on the guitars and on the bass, and the drummer's going, all I have to do to play along is play my 1 chord when they're playing the 1 chord, and then my 5 chord when they're playing the 5 chord, and play my 4 chord when they're playing the 4 chord. They might be playing all over the scale, all the notes in the scale. They might be doing melodies and stuff, but the piano player might be playing weird ass chords and stuff over the basic progression, and you can play it that way. If you want to, in first position, you can play it up here with these bar shapes. That's your 1 chord, and your 5 chord, and your 4 chord. You see what I'm saying? Once you start really assembling all this information, and I haven't got there yet, but like that's what you do if you want to advance your knowledge. You have to sit down and take the time to think about all this stuff, and you practicing just techniques is good, but if you don't know the theory behind it, you're gonna be stuck until you learn it. In your advancement, you might advance in technique, but eventually the theory is gonna catch up with you, and you're gonna need to know it in order to advance as a player or a songwriter or whatever. So learn it now. Get a book. Like I've told some of y'all, just get a book or get the information off the internet for free. Go to a library, go to Amazon.com, go wherever, and just get you a basic book so that you can have it. If you're like me, my internet goes out whenever it rains, so if I don't have a book, I'm out of luck. Anyways, it's damn near an hour lesson. Well, I can't make it safe for kids now because I said damn. Anyways, I'll try to split this up and put it on the group chat later, or just download it and make you watch it a whole hour at a time, or 47 minutes and 30 seconds. Anyways, I hope it helps. Have a good day.